Hello and welcome to Business Finishing School. Let your business brain finish what your entrepreneurial heart started. Our catalyzing statement is a successful entrepreneur inside of every business. Enjoy this module. Welcome to this month's module. We're really excited to present this one because we did a short version of this on a teleseminar for the members a while back. We got phenomenal feedback from it. People said it was very enriching for them. And basically it was a pause and a review. So at this point, after all the modules you've been through, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to module 1 and we're going to hit them one at a time just to remind you of all these principles and bring them back into focus into your life. A lot of times you get down into the forest, you're just seeing the trees. We're going to come back out of the trees, look at the whole forest, one tree at a time. So Rick, since you're the principal master, I'm going to prompt you. We're going to discuss each one and keep moving along. So let's start with the very first module, values-based decision making, and that's where we learned about the doorman. So go ahead and give us the highlights.
What's important about this module is the leverage that you get from it. Time and time and time again, when I interact with people out there in public, they talk about the doorman principle. When you say no to things that do not align with your values, you're saying yes to the universe, if you want to get spiritual, providing you the things that do align. You don't have to get spiritual. By saying no to things that don't align, you're giving room and opportunity for things that do align. So values-based decision-making and the doorman principle very simply is creating a set of values for each area of your life. You may have a different set of values for who you want to date or marry, and a different set of values for who you want to be friends with, and a different set of values for who you want to employ in your company, and a different set of values for who you want your business to do business with. If, for example, you're a manufacturing company, and you have a rule that says we only want to do business with American-made products, as an example. That's one of your values. So it's incredibly important to revisit that module, get crystal clear on what you want past your doorman. This is incredibly leverageable. And that's values-based decision-making and the doorman principle.
Next one is the catalyzing statement and management by objectives. Again, another really foundational principle. Catalyzing statement has caught fire by Kyber. We just got back from a business mastery intensive, and the catalyzing statement aspect of that, people working on them, people refining them, people sharing them, tweaking them, etc. This has been a phenomenon for this particular training and the people who are in it, and we see it spreading. And this is a concept that you really coined, this whole concept of the catalyzing statement, so talk about that.
Yeah, we actually have a trademark on the phrase catalyzing statement. My holding company does, which tells me that nobody's talking about it. Very recently we were able to get a trademark on the phrase with the definition that's outlined in that module. It tells me that it's cutting edge. So you've heard about the frame that every business needs to have in place. You need to have a purpose, a reason for being, a reason that your employees and you get out of bed in the morning and go to work. That's your purpose. That purpose needs to have a get to, and that get to is your catalyzing statement. If you think about Bill Gates wanting to build the most recognizable software company in the world, that was his purpose, but his catalyzing statement, which catalyzed so much action, was a computer on every desktop. So the frame is number 1, purpose, number 2, catalyzing statement, number 3, your objectives. What are your annual business objectives that align with your catalyzing statement, which obviously aligns with your purpose? And then you have your annual objectives, and you have your quarterly objectives, and then you have your employees have their 5 objectives that align, so that's the objective side. Then one of the other components of the frame of 5 is your strategy, and we're going to talk about that when we get to the strategy section. And obviously you have your tactics. So I did it a little bit out of order, but it's purpose, catalyzing statement, strategy, objectives, and then your tactics. You have to have those 5 things in place Again, I've had people push back and say, well, what if I only have 4 out of 5? If you're looking for simplicity, probability, and leverage, make sure you're working on all 5. Now, ironically, there are people that have been in the program a long time. You're now in the end of year 2. As you now know, it's a 4-year program. And in the 4th year, we're going to issue you a finishing school black belt. So you're going to be a business black belt. Year 1, you get a yellow belt. If you haven't gotten your yellow belt, go to contact us and send an email. Year 2, you get an orange belt. Year 3, you get a green belt. And year 4, you get a black belt. And one of my highlights of the live events is handing out those belts. I love how people's eyes light up when they get their belt and they put it on. And each belt has a line on it, just like if you were going to go into the what is that called? You're a karate master.
The dojo?
The dojo. Put your black belt on. So after 4 years, you're really going to be a business master.
So,
but I just wanted to finish this thought. As it relates to catalyzing statements, people, even at this stage, are really not sure what their catalyzing statement is. It's incredibly important. And I explained this to someone recently. He said, how do I get my catalyzing statement? And my first question is, what's your purpose? Well, I'm not really clear what my purpose is. Perfect. And I said to him, and this is the easiest way to explain it, if you're waiting for your purpose to hit you over the head, and you're meditating, and you're waiting, and you're thinking, and you're hoping, it doesn't work like that. When someone finds the ideal spouse to marry, at a certain point, they choose that spouse. There's 6 billion people in the world. You've got to pick one, right? Purpose is the same thing. There's billions of purposes. You have to choose it. Where does it reside? It resides in here. You have to choose it and embrace it and think about it and make it firm in your life. So you get your purpose first. Then once you're locked in your purpose, and it doesn't have to take long, once you get your purpose down, then the catalyzing statement, same thing. There are people that have been thinking about a catalyzing statement for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Well, I'm not sure what it is. How long did it take John F. Kennedy to come up with, I will send a man to the moon and return him safely to Earth? I don't know, but it wasn't that long because it was soon after he came in office that he came up with that. Here's the point. Take the time away from your business, with your accountability groups, with people that you trust, and figure it out. Just last week, I took a team of executives through a process. I said it will take 2 hours. And what we did was I was on a laptop. We had it projected on the wall, just like the war room, and we were writing down ideas. Then we ranked them, then we voted on them, then we got more ideas, then we deleted them, we kept adding, and we kept refining. And in 2 hours, we ended up with 3. And we simply voted. We chose. And that was the catalyzing statement.
So management by objectives versus management by task, it becomes a cultural thing. And if you remember, it will tie into how you compensate your employees. It will tie into how your business functions and operates. This is a major distinction, management by objective versus management by task. The overriding objective that everybody views and knows and sees every single day is the catalyzing statement. So this is a great and important principle. Make sure you seal that one in. Next, number 3, another great one that has had a major impact on my life is rhythms to amplify time and success. Talk about that.
Well, just watching Patrick from when I first met him 3.5 years ago till now, this is a foreign concept to him. And now to see him lead whenever he's doing a business transaction or whenever he's interacting with one of his employees or whenever he's doing any business deal, he immediately puts it into a rhythm because he's realized that when you're doing something important, whether it's a relationship or a deal, it has to be rhythmic. And I've seen a good friend of mine was trying to sell a large piece of real estate as a goal. And I said, what's the rhythm for that goal? And he said, you can't have any rhythm associated with selling a piece of real estate. What are you talking about? And I said, really, you can't? How about every Friday from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 4 o'clock in the afternoon is the only time you focus on that transaction. So if somebody calls where they want to view it, or the realtor calls, or there's a contract to review, it's always Friday from 2 to 4. That's it. And his eyes lit up. He said, wow, do you realize that I've been doing showings on weekends and at night and thinking about changing my realtor and having these crazy conversations with loony buyers that will never buy? If I just put that simple rhythm in place, I could say, I'm a busy, successful person. If you want to have a site visit of this particular piece of real estate, I'll meet you there, but it has to be between these times. And if they're legitimate and they're serious, guess what? They'll meet you between that time. And if they're not, they won't. Too often, as business people, we will change our schedule to suit any situation, and that is just insanity. I have on the bottom of my calendar when I meet for my accountability group. It's sacred time. That's the rhythmic time that I have to meet with my accountability group. Just like date night with my wife, or just like meetings with my executives, or just like anything, it's sacred time. So many people are willing to miss an accountability group because they decided to take a plane flight at that time. How hard is it to look at your schedule and not fly during important meetings? People that are unwilling to do that probably don't fit Module 1, which is Values-Based Decision-Making and Doorman Principle. Remember the quote, doing things 100% of the time is easy. Doing them 90% of the time is hard, because now you have to decide what, when, excuses, calls, not call, all the stuff that's associated with not being your word. So, using rhythms to amplify time and success, just to add one more component, if you go back to that module, put up a calendar. Rhythmicize every aspect of your business. Rhythmicize when you do marketing meetings. Rhythmicize when you do client appreciation events. Rhythmicize everything. That's what has allowed McDonald's to go from one store to thousands upon thousands of stores. They have rhythms and habits associated with their business model.
Terrific. I think you got that one down. Now let's talk about the new profit paradigm, Module 4. Go ahead.
Okay, so now we're up to number 4, and we're going to pick up the pace right here, because what we're trying to do is give you a flavor so that it triggers in your mind, oh, I can implement this or that. So we're not going to go as deep. We're just going to hit them at a high level. New profit paradigm is about honoring your 4 Ps, okay? Being surrounded by great people, being on purpose, making money, which is your 3rd P, and honoring your community, 4th P, is your planet. How big is your planet? We don't know. That's up to you. On the other side of the equation is about finding recurring revenue opportunities. On the bottom is making sure all of your expenses are variable. And we just heard, Pat and I, an example of somebody, thank God he approached us, and he said, you know what, I watched your module. I didn't realize I can make my rent variable. The landlord decided to take a risk on me, and I was able to not pay any rent unless the percentage of revenue from my business exceeded a certain amount. And then I paid a percentage of that to my landlord. At the end of the day, because my business grew, the landlord made more than they would have made if it was a flat rent policy. So I'm using that example because you could make almost any expense variable. Remember, I said almost. There's 2 arrows on that equation. There's an arrow going up next to revenue and an arrow down next to expenses. What does that mean? You want to constantly think, how can I get my revenue up? How can I get my recurring revenue up? And how can I lower my expenses? So oftentimes employees or friends or whomever come to you with ideas that do the opposite. They increase expenses and lower revenue. You want to always focus on that.
So, and this ties into the rules-based decision-making module, which we'll be covering in a minute. But what happens when you understand new profit paradigm is the rules change. When you're considering new business opportunities or ventures, the question is there recurring revenue attached, and can I make the expenses variable? And interestingly, during a break, Jimmy, who's behind the camera, we were talking about a business that he's launching, and we started talking in terms of new profit paradigm. Can we create recurring revenue with that business? The answer was yes. That's why he loves the business. And can you get the expenses more variable in that business for launch? Answer is yes. So we start filtering everything through that, and it's exactly what you should be doing too. So revisit that one. Number 5, business entity structure for long-term success. This is a real game changer.
When you're looking at your business, in my opinion, if you want simplicity, probability, and leverage, you need to look at your business from the perspective of an exit strategy. Too often, business owners, they run their business, they run it for many years, they get to age 60 or 65 or 70 or whatever age it is, and they have no value in their business entity. So they end up walking away. Some of you watching this may say to yourself, you know what? My father did that. My mother did that. I did that. We want you to cut that out. Every business can be structured as an entity where the value of that entity is designed to grow over time. How does it grow over time? Obviously, you want to dig into the module once again. You want to think about your business as the golden goose that lays golden eggs. And the golden eggs, obviously, is your income and your profit distributions based on you hitting objectives. But you want to preserve the golden goose for an exit later. Too often we see businesses where it's somebody whose name is on the door, they keep it small, they only hire family members, and then when it's time to exit because they want to retire, there's no market for that business. Whereas if you honor the principles in this module, you're creating an entity that has value outside of you. You want to make sure your business is separate from you, because when your business is separate from you, only then can you add value into an entity. Oftentimes people look at themselves as their business, and in order for them to get wealthy, they've got to obviously take money out of their business, enrich themselves, and they're not building an entity. This is where your wealth lies. It lies in the entity. As Carlos Slim said, every time you take $1 out of your business, it's worth many times more in your business. And so keep as much as you can in your business with the objective of growing the value of it.
I remember at the live Business Mastery Intensive, you had just made the point. Too many people work a business for decades and then end up cashing out for little to nothing because they didn't set up the entity structure properly and treat it properly. This is how you're going to build long-term wealth in your estate, because you own a business, not because you're a proprietor that runs a company. So from there, I think the lesson's very important. Next, you got lessons from the billionaire mind. What are those lessons?
Well, we're going to highlight it right here. One of the biggest things I got from interviewing these people are the 3 G's. Gratefulness, generosity, graciousness. I started thinking about my life from the perspective of gratefulness. I'm grateful for a friendship with you, Pat. I'm grateful that we have the opportunity to influence your life. I'm grateful that you're spending time watching us, because that is allowing us to manifest our purpose on the world. It's also catalyzing you to take action on your purpose. So gratefulness was a massive component of their life. And I love what Brother David said, who was one of the people I interviewed, Brother David Steindl-Rast, who wrote a book called Gratefulness. But he said it is impossible to be upset while at the same time being grateful. And whenever I'm in an argument with my wife and I think about what I'm grateful for, I'm no longer upset. So they were very grateful. They were very gracious with their time. I didn't see cell phones. I didn't see any distractions. When I spent time with these people, they spent time with me. It was very touching to have a human connection with these people. And then lastly, extremely generous. It made me think about how I give to charity and how I give money. And in fact, Patrick and I were influenced by that so much. Whenever somebody signed up for the program, we would give it for free to students of business. We wanted to make sure that we were pollinating these philosophies, not only on the people who were purchasing the program, but the people who were also neophytes who needed the information. And you've seen Tom's Shoes, where you buy a pair of Tom's Shoes, they'll give one free to someone in need, or Theos Water, where you buy water at Starbucks and they'll give water to people that don't have access to fresh water. So that's one aspect of it. There's many things in the module, but to highlight it, you have to find a world-class lifetime assistant. people worry about the money. Do I have to pay them 40 grand or 50 grand or 60 grand or 70 grand? What's most important is that you find someone who's passionate about that purpose in their life. Then it's not about the money. When it's about the money, that means you have the wrong person and they need more money. But when you find the right person, it's unbelievable. As I said, if you go to Hollywood, you could see a major Hollywood star surrounded by people that love supporting that star who make next to nothing. But that's what they want to do. That's their purpose in life. Don't judge their purpose. That's what it is. So stop worrying about how much it'll cost for a lifetime assistant. Worry about finding someone whose purpose is to support you in hitting your objectives.
Next, we have the battleship principle, which is about protecting your assets, having strength. There's never been a company that has succeeded on any level that hasn't met some big challenge along the way that could have threatened to destroy the company. And quite frankly, there's a lot of promising companies that were destroyed because they didn't practice the battleship principle.
If you think over the next 10 years that your business will not be hit in the side by a torpedo, you're crazy. Expect it, understand where it could come from, and put contingencies in place to protect it. It shocks me whenever I meet a bankrupt entrepreneur who says, I hardly expected that a lawsuit could come. Really? There's millions of lawsuits every day going on in courtrooms that are stuffed. How could you not expect a lawsuit? So that's what that's about. Let's move on.
Simplicity on the far side of complexity. This is one that has had a monumental impact on my life in all areas. In our accountability group, when Rick brought the concept of far side simplicity to the group, we spent months working on how to apply far side simplicity in all categories, all the important categories of our lives. This is a big one, and this is Rick's top value. If you said, here's a list of Rick's values, he will tell you, my primary value is simplicity. So give us a quick overview.
I wouldn't give a fig for the simplicity on this side of complexity, but I would give my life for the simplicity on the other side of complexity, and so should you. Simplicity in all its many and varied forms is the key to simplicity, probability, and leverage. It's the key to unlocking your potential. We talked about my friend who I went to his brand new house to have a business meeting with him, and I'm in this massive house with a lot of unneeded things, and in an hour-long meeting, he was constantly interrupted. First the carpet guy, then the pool guy, then the insurance guy, then the roof guy, then the dog guy, then this person and that person, and it was just a constant distraction. And I asked him, I said, is this your life? He said, well, what do you mean? I said, your cell phone's going off, you got all these distractions, this is your life, this is success to you? It was the absolute opposite of simplicity. I call that chaos. So, some people have it right. It's funny when you go to Necker Island and you see how Richard Branson lives, it's pretty simple. It's not an expensive home, very simple existence. The guy walks around with sweats all day long, so he doesn't have to worry about all that stuff. He has decided to make his incredibly complex business life operate in as simple a fashion as possible. So figure out how to simplify everything. Figure out how to unlock your potential through the leverage that offers you, and you will increase the probability of your success.
Next, we have rules-based decision making. Talk about that.
I love this one because it's so fitting to my personality, and I love to share it with you. Let's just use a really simple example. If you're trying to hire somebody, make a set of really simple rules that you won't tolerate at the interview. I won't hire anybody that doesn't have a suit on, as an example. Not sure that you're in that industry that you need a suit, but what if I won't hire anybody that comes to the interview without their resume? What you want to start to do in your business and personal life is have crystal clear rules for what you'll tolerate and what you won't. And when you put those rules in place, that's when you begin to build that leverage. Why does Domino's have more than 1,000 stores and Frank's Pizza have one? Because Frank's Pizza doesn't have rules for how they make pizza. They don't have rules for the type of marketing they do. They don't have rules for when they open and close. It's just when Frank shows up, that's when they're open. Rules-based decision-making can unlock so much potential in your business. That separates long-term, sustainable businesses from the rest. You need to have rules for everything. And while you're at it, have rules in your personal life as well.
One that recently had a big impact on me, the 50-200% rule. I have hired hundreds of employees over my career, and then when I followed the 50-200% rule, it was a major breakthrough for me recently, and I'm excited that you have these tools that I followed line by line through the process to source, hire, and properly compensate the most key employee I have in my organization right now.
JAW, J-A-W, just add water. Even Patrick, who's here and who's been through the modules and who's helped create them and whose input has been immense, even him, like me and some of us, you want to jump the process. You want to cut it off. You want to stop it. You don't want to stop the process or change it. So as it relates to the 50-200% rule, if you want the best employees, just add water. Follow the process in that module and do what it says. Right down to phone interview questions that you ask. Right down to, a lot of times people, they get the resumes in, one jumps off the page, this really awesome one, and they say, you know what, rather than going through the whole process, let me just go meet this person at Starbucks and interview them. That's exactly what you don't want to do. Almost 100% of the time when I'm doing this process, the one that I think I'm going to hire early in the process, I never do, because someone better emerges. That's exactly what Pat went through. The 50-200% rule is all about holding out to find that employee that will produce 5,200% more to the bottom line of your business than the average employee. Please don't shortcut the process.
The stop doing list, the thing that is going to liberate you to succeed and focus on the right things and eliminate the wrong things.
How saying no will transform your life and your business. I love one of the quotes from a book that's called The Power of a Positive No, where he's sitting having breakfast with Warren Buffett, and he says, Warren Buffett said, the secret to becoming a billionaire is I simply say no, 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 and only say yes to businesses and investments that fully align. Isn't that interesting? Now, I don't know if you subscribe to being this wealthy human being, or you just want a better life, or you just want higher income. But simplicity, probability, and leverage is rooted in you have to flex that no muscle in all areas of your life. If when you first meet somebody, to give you a quick example, and they offer you an opportunity, or they want to get you in a club, or they want to do something, what most people do is they say, you know what, we should talk about that. Even though their gut's saying no, I am telling you, flex that no muscle and simply say, because you probably have something you're thinking about now, simply say, wow, I so much appreciate you thinking of me, but at this time I'm overcommitted and I'd like to respectfully say no. Thanks again. It's that simple. Say no to almost everything, but never say no to education and accountability. Patrick and I are in multiple accountability groups. We are both committed to our education. We're constantly reading. We're constantly going to seminars. I have a personal coach and 3 accountability groups. I never say no to that because that's what's enriching my brain, and no one can take that away from me. But what I am saying no to are crazy business deals, or business deals that don't align, or relationships that are draining, or parasites in my life. That's what I'm saying no to. But I'm saying yes to opportunities to be held accountable, opportunities to be coached, and opportunities to learn.
Lifelong investing success. This is something, we're not investment advisors, but there's some basic rules here, and I've learned them mostly the hard way, but I invest now first in myself and don't invest in things that you don't know and that you don't understand. Talk a little bit more about this, Rick.
Yeah, so lifelong investing in success is tied into the one before it, saying no. Many times Patrick and I are approached and people say, can I see Module 10 because I have a business need and I want to watch that? And I normally say no. You've got to see Module 1 and Module 2 and Module 3 and Module 4. You have to build it up. It's just like a foundation. We don't build the chimney on top of the house before we build the foundation of the house. The foundation has to be set and has to be laid, and that's why we started with values-based decision-making in year 1. What we're talking about now are the 12 foundational principles. Year 2 is about acceleration, which we're going to get into in a moment. But lifelong investing success is about not making the dumb mistakes that we all make in business. Could you imagine if you had every dollar back that you ever invested and that it had been growing at 2, 3, 4, 5%? You'd love to get 2, 3, 4, 5% if you could have all your dollars back. But what happens is we make bad investment after bad investment, and now we want to get 100% because we got to make what we lost. Start now to say no to bad business opportunities. Stop loaning money to people that you know you're not going to get back, and invest in your business and align businesses, and only do the most conservative investing if it's into things that you don't know about. So if you're going to invest in the stock market, instead of doing that, maybe buy AAA rated bonds. You get the point. You don't want to take risk outside of your area of competence.
All right, let's get into our first business acceleration concept, the war room. We love the war room.
I love it so much. People have started hiring me to do it. It's not cheap.
It's definitely not cheap, but it's worth it.
Well, it's fun. And what the war room is about is getting all of your key decision makers into a room and taking your business through a process, and what falls out the other side of this process is exactly what you need to be focused on in your business. And you could war room anything. You could war room an acquisition. You could war room the sale of your business. You can war room your values. You could war room your business objectives. But at the end of the day, what it's about is getting everybody around the table to assess all of your resources so that you can decide what strategies, tactics, and objectives that you need to set now. And it also is a decluttering mechanism because it gets everything out so people aren't cluttered in their minds and in their strategies and whatnot. It clarifies everything.
At this past Business Mastery Intensive, somebody came up to us and said, the toleration tendency changed my life.
What are you tolerating in your life? What are you allowing to creep in to stop you from operating at peak performance? What are you tolerating in relationships? What are you tolerating in health and fitness? What are you tolerating inside your company? What relationships that are toxic or parasitical in nature are you tolerating? What are you tolerating in terms of making excuses for yourself? What are you tolerating in terms of this program? What are you tolerating in terms of maybe there's someone in your accountability group that needs to be talked to very clearly and sternly? Look at what you're tolerating in all areas of your life and take decisive action.
What is business strategy really? Recently, you presented this to a group of my high-performing clients, and they were blown away by it because of its simplicity. Again, you take things, you make them simple, but what is business strategy really gave me a whole new context from which to say any business approach I'm taking now, any new businesses I'm looking to incubate, I start with this.
Yeah. It's interesting when we talk about what business strategy is really. Recently, I was at an event and I was presenting this, and a tenured college professor who teaches business approached me and said, I have never seen business strategy explained this way. He loved it. Business strategy is often ignored, or often by default executed on, or often overlooked. What is business strategy really? It's nailing very specifically who your customer is, this exact type of customer. What product or service are you delivering to that specific customer, and how are you delivering it? And in the how is how you're delivering it through marketing, or whatever your mechanism is to deliver it, i.e. the web. But you have to nail those three and make it your permanent strategy. Why? Because you want to build a moat around your business. A business moat is something that protects your business. What is a business moat about? It is about not allowing your competition to copy you so easily. You want barriers to entry. You want to be number one in whatever it is that you're doing. You want your clients to not be easily stolen from you by your competition. And that's what the business moat is about.
The transformational sequence.
Well, the transformational sequence, you and I thought about this together, and we thought about what is it that people need to take the principles we're teaching and put them on the ground so that they can have permanent change. Because too often we've seen people, they have a desire to change, they know what the principle is, they know what they should be doing, but nothing happens. So I'm going to flip this one to you, Pat.
Well, it's basically the three phases. We started to consider how do we identify, almost in a graphic format, which is how it started in my brain, is that what are the phases to turn principles into outcomes? It starts with the foundational principle. What takes that principle off the ground is implementation, and what causes transformation or character change that's permanent is accountability. So that's the transformational sequence. Principle, what are your principles? Implementation, putting them into action, and then accountability, creating habits that keep them in play for the rest of your life.
In my personal life, as you know, when I met my wife, my only wife, after the age of 40, we got married when I was 43, and we've been married for almost 6 years now. My wife absolutely, positively holds me accountable. I was unsure, can I do this? Will I be able to be a great man and a great husband? I don't know. None of us really know. But when you have someone holding you accountable to your own greatness, that is the missing link in everything. And you know what I find? A lot of people don't want to be held accountable. When my lifetime assistant calls me out on the carpet, I love it. I want to know what I'm doing wrong. But you know what most bosses do? How dare you talk to me like that? That is the ego in full force. Get rid of that ego. You want the data. You want to be held accountable. This is the number one reason why people will not join accountability groups, because they don't want someone else telling them what to do. Well, you know what? That is holding you back. And this is why we set the modules up in this order, because it leads right into the Superman syndrome.
Right on. And that's where talk about, again, an unhealthy ego, because there's a healthy ego, but an unhealthy ego is the Superman syndrome. We had a presenter actually at our last Business Mastery Intensive that came out in a Superman outfit, and I got to tell you, it rang so clear, his presentation, to some of the people there, that it started putting tears in their eyes, because they recognized not only were they injuring the people around them because of this hubris that they display as the Superman for their business, but further that it's robbing them of their health and their life, that literally they can go to an early grave because they're playing Superman.
I believe that Superman syndrome is the thing that holds back almost everybody in life. At some level, we all deal with it. Even when we're at the top of the food chain, everybody deals with it. And how do you get rid of the Superman syndrome? You allow your business to run itself by instilling a lot of the things we're teaching here. The Superman syndrome is that all roads lead to me. I'm the boss. I'm the one that started this company. You don't know how hard I work. When you talk to your employees like that, all you're telling them is, you're powerless, I'm powerful, you're worthless, it's all about me. Stop the insanity. Stop being Superman. You want to enrich and empower the people around you, whether it's your children or your spouse or your employees or your shareholders or your patients or your clients or whatever it is. That's the Superman syndrome.
Customer, employee, and vendor communications.
This is all about standardizing your business. It's unbelievable how many businesses I interact with, and all their emails come in a different fashion. They don't know what their tagline is. Their logos on their letterhead are different than their website. They don't communicate in a consistent way. Various employees are saying different things about pricing and strategy. It's about taking a top-down approach, starting with your overall business strategy, then your business name, and making sure everything fully aligns, and strategizing and planning all communications. Most people, it's like an afterthought. Hey, just send an email out about blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, you get the customer outrage. We all saw that happen with Netflix. When Netflix decided to break off one of their products and create a new name for it, and there was complete outrage. Or when Coca-Cola decided to come out with a different flavor of Coke, and there was complete outrage. This is about avoiding those things, making sure that you communicate your business in a way that your constituents understand what you're trying to do at all levels, whether it's with your vendors or your customers or your employees or whatever. It's about strategizing about how you communicate.
Next, something all entrepreneurs should be concerned with, legacy.
Do you think about the legacy that you want to leave behind, or is it all about Superman? When you start thinking about when you're gone from this world, what do you want to leave behind? Or when you're gone from your business, what do you want to leave behind? People that really care about legacy really care about who they leave their business to. Some will not leave it to their children because they know that their children are not going to treat it the way they did. Some will not sell it for the highest price. They sell it for the second or third or fourth highest price because they know that that buyer will treat that business right. Some think about how they want their children to see them after they're gone, so they write books, or they write a letter, or they create a video that says, if I ever die by accident, here's a video of all my wishes. Here's what I want you to remember me for. Here's what I want you to think about. Think about your legacy. What are your favorite quotes? Who are your favorite people? What was most impactful for you when you were alive? You could think about that if you want to leave your legacy in a video format. But legacy is all about, after you leave, what happens? After you leave your business, after you leave your children, i.e. they're out of the house, what do you want them to leave with? Legacy's important. Revisit that module.
Benefiting from an outsider's perspective, something that was very impactful for me, getting Rick's outsider's perspective to my businesses. Talk about that.
Mentors, coaches, advisors, friends, boards of directors, advisory boards. It's shocking to me how many businesses have zero outside perspectives. Again, Superman rears its ugly head. I like to take from all of those buckets, and so should you. Why? Simplicity, probability, and leverage. You know, you've heard me say that many, 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 many times, and people still come up to me and say, I need to hear it more. It's just like when you say, I love you to someone close to you. They need to hear it more and more and more. Simplicity, probability, and leverage. Get an outsider's perspective. Put rhythms in place to talk to these people. Embed it into your culture. Do it. It will absolutely change all aspects of your business. And no matter what level you are in terms of getting data, you could always upgrade the people that you interact with. You can make your boards better. You can make your accountability groups better. You can make your friendships better. So if you're doing it, you could do it better. If you're not doing it, start now.
Then we have the fear paradox.
I love that. Fear is when you wet your pants, and courage is what you do with wet pants. And Pat has another way of saying it, and his punchline is, courage is what you do with soiled pants. So here's the thing, and you probably remember this one crystal clear. Everyone has fear. We all have fear. But what the heck are you going to do with that fear? Go through it. Peek outside the box. It's okay. No one ever got hurt overcoming a fear, because most fear is rooted in worry and preoccupation and anxiety. Did you want to add to it?
Yeah, I mean, all growth is outside the comfort zone. You got to be able to be afraid and take one more step anyway. And the paradox is that fears are what's holding you back, and simultaneously they're likely the biggest opportunity that you have to grow in your personal life and in your business. So revisit that module, put that into place in your life. It will change everything. Capture, review, action.
Ready, set, go. If you're not capturing data that comes to you, any data, all data, if you're not capturing it, how are you going to review it to take the proper action? And I don't care if it's capturing conversations that you've had with your children, capturing conversations you've had with your wife, capturing deal points. I started keeping a file called Business Ideas when I was 17. That file has over 3,000 ideas in it. Every once in a while, I'll go back and revisit it, and there's some really good ideas that there's no way I would have remembered 10, never mind thousands. And I just put them on this Excel spreadsheet, and I add to it and add to it and add to it. Some I moved to a parking lot, some I moved to good idea for later. But how hard is it when I think of an idea to open my computer and write it down? Capture everything. Capture what your customers say, capture what your employees say, capture what people that are interacting with your business on a casual basis say. Then review, and then take critical action. And that's all we're going to say about that one.
And now finally, the magic of the 2x2 matrix.
Yeah, when you talk about simplicity, probability, and leverage, nothing nails it as much as a 2x2 matrix. So when you're encountering a new business opportunity, or for that matter, any project or any decisive thing, you want to make sure that you're getting all the activities and all the decision points on a 2x2 matrix so you can see what is the highest amount of leverage and return that I can get for a certain activity. Oftentimes, we're spending all of our time, money, and resources on zero return activities. And the 2x2 matrix is a very simple way. Man, does this fit into finishing school. Simplicity, probability, and leverage. Because the 2x2 matrix is a very, very simple way to get out of the whole pile of data, what are the highest return things that we should be doing, and that fully align. So this was a rundown of the last 2 years. You've got 2 more years to go to get your black belt. I cannot wait for those few elite people that go through all 4 years of the program that I can hand the black belt to, and Patrick and I can sit belly to belly with you, having a drink, and if you don't drink, we'll have a tea or a coffee or whatever you want, and that will just be an amazing, amazing point in my life to see someone that took our purpose and passion and enthusiasm, just added water, and made all of their dreams come true, because I want to learn from them. Those are the people that inspire me, because whenever I finish something to the end, especially something that takes 4 years to do, I'm so proud. And I want the person that put that in place to be with me. Wouldn't that be great? So I promise you, at the end of 4 years, when I hand you your black belt, that will be a tremendous point in my life. I'll be so proud of you. I'll be proud of Patrick. I'll be proud of all the time and effort and energy that we put into it. Did you want to say anything else, Pat, about the 2 years?
Only that if we're getting belly to belly, it's a lot easier for Rick to do that than it is for me.
Hey.
So anyway, that's the review. I'm glad that you went through this review, because sometimes, again, we get focused on the individual things we're working on. Take the step back and see the overview of all these principles and these business accelerators, and start to recognize which ones have I kind of let fade away, and bring them back into focus and apply them to your business, and you're going to have a great future. So we appreciate you.
I just want to add one thing. Year 3 and year 4, what we're going to do now is, because now you have the foundation and you have the acceleration, year 3 and 4 is about listening. We're going to have modules created from this point forward where you're listening, whether it's on the phone or on an MP3 player. So all of the video-based modules have been done. Year 3 and year 4 is going to take everything you learned. You're going to have legacy and accountability baked in. So thank you for the last 2 years. We appreciate who you are. We look forward to talking to you next month in finishing school.
Thank you for watching this module of Business Finishing School. Let your business brain finish what your entrepreneurial heart started.